Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, first, I got an update on Jussie Smollett. The guy that allegedly faked a hate crime against himself to become the gay Tupac, could be back in trouble. So, Sheila O'Brien, who is a retired Illinois judge, submitted a petition to the judge handling the whole Smollett saga, saying that there should be a special prosecutor come in and reopen the whole thing and look at the way that it was handled. The judge shot down the position on two of the three reasons why this retired judge thought there should be a new prosecutor, but granted it on the third reason, which is that Kim Foxx, who, if you remember, was the assistant state's attorney that was handling it, and then she was also texting with Obama's ex-chief of staff and Smollett's family, and even Schmida texted her at one point. And then all of a sudden, she recused herself, says, I can't work on this case. I am recusing myself. I sent a text to Schmida. Well, then she appointed just her right-hand man to handle it, and then the charges were dropped. And then lawsuits exploded. That's where we left off on my last video, is all the charges are gone and the lawsuits popped up. Well, now the judge is saying that Kim Foxx didn't have the authority to, if she recused herself, then it should have gone up to the judge right there to appoint a special prosecutor. What Kim Foxx did is just give it to her right-hand man, and according to the judge, you can't do that. You can't just say, well, I can't take this case because of ethical reasons, but I'm going to give it to my best friend that I can tell what to do. And so what does that mean? So this Sheila O'Brien, retired judge, why did she do that? Well, she said she wanted to restore the confidence of the Cook County legal system, which you can't blame her. It's just been a complete circus. And so, what does that mean for Jussie Smollett? It means nothing good. This prosecutor is going to come in and he is going to look at everything, has access to everything, and he could reinstate the felonies. He's going to look at Kim Foxx's office, or he or she, I guess, is going to look at the Kim Foxx office to make sure they handled it. So right when you thought this case was about to fade into the gay Tupac sunset, we're back, baby. So it's going to be interesting. All right, so update number 2. The Liam McAtasney case is wrapped up. If you remember, he was found guilty of first-degree murder for brutally murdering his childhood friend and taking her inheritance, and he thought it was a heist. Him and his roommate, they're like, let's plan a heist. And I was laughing last night at Liam, just as the guy that can't understand what a heist is. He's always like, dudes, you guys, I got an idea for a heist. And his boys are like, yeah, okay, what's your idea? He's like, okay, are you ready? First, we kill my mom, and then we take her money. And his friends are like, whoa, Liam, what? That's not a heist. That's just killing your mom. That's not. A heist is when we steal a painting while everyone's in the other room dancing the waltz or something. It's not, you can't kill somebody, or let alone your mom, for. He's like, okay, sorry. And then a couple of weeks later, he goes, dudes, I got an idea for a heist. Ready? This is going to be insane. It's perfect, okay? We're never going to get caught. First, we poison your grandpa, and then we take his house. And they're like, whoa, what? Liam, no. That's just killing his grandpa. You can't. That's not a heist. A heist is when you lower in from the ceiling and copy a CD that's worth $10 million. It's not murdering your family or your friends. What is that? And he's like, oh. And he just can't get it. But so if you remember, he killed his best friend, found guilty, and then the sentence was postponed because someone on the jury shared a Facebook message about the case and said, LMAO, laughing my ass off. I'm on this case or something like that. And then Liam's defense wanted a whole new trial on a bunch of just nonsense reasons. One of them being that it was a script, the whole thing was a script. Dahlia, so who wrote the script? Space aliens. So space aliens wrote the script. Yes. So he went with the Dahlia Dippa didn't do anything script of it was space aliens. Or it was a script. And so they filed for a new trial on all these, and it got turned down. And the sentencing took place a few days ago, and he received life in prison without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder. And he got 10 years for robbing her, and he got another 20 for the way they disposed of the body. So Liam, as a 21-year-old, is now just in the concrete shitbox forever. So that sucks for him. Okay, so now I want to tell you guys a little story. So my episode on Mount Everest, I didn't know how people, if there would be any interest on a channel like this for a Mount Everest type video. No matter what topic I get, there's someone that's like, boring. And so I don't even really care. I just try to pick topics I'm fascinated by. But I was surprised that there's quite a bit of interest about Mount Everest. So I wanted to tell a story, my Mount Everest sort of story. And that is about 2 years ago, right, I got fascinated with Mount Everest. I watched every single YouTube video on it. I watched every movie that was made about it. I tried to read not only books about Everest, but books about mountaineering, about all the other 8,000 meter peaks. I followed it like a sport, like the same way someone would follow the NFL. I could tell you who was climbing it that year. I could tell you what clothing company sponsored them. I could tell you who made it. I just got into it. I just was following Mount Everest for some reason. And so as I was fascinated by it, I started, I knew I didn't have any business trying to climb it, but I started looking up vacations where you trek to base camp. So you fly into Kathmandu, and over 12 days, you hike all day for 12 days, and then you get to base camp, which is the lowest camp, and you hang out there for a few hours, just look at the mountain, and then you hike back. Or no, I don't think you hike back for 12 days. Maybe you get back faster. Anyway, I wanted to do an Everest base camp trek. There's a million YouTube videos of people doing the vacation, and it looks really fun, and you don't have to be some insane mountain climber to do it. So I pitch it to my girlfriend, like, let's do this Everest base camp vacation. And she's a teacher, so the only time that she could do it is in August, and you can't do it in August because it is the monsoon season in Nepal. So we couldn't do it. And then my girlfriend was getting her hair cut and was telling her hairstylist, yeah, we were going to do the Everest Base Camp trek, but we couldn't because of my schedule, blah, blah, blah. And her hairdresser was like, well, me and my sister climbed this mountain in Peru. It's part of the Lares trek. And it was really fun, and it was hard, but not too hard, and the whole 9 yards. And so we look up this, and you can do it in August. And so we book. I somehow convinced my girlfriend that we should climb a mountain on our vacation. And so you have to book it a year in advance because they got to get permits, and you got to buy the gear, and you got to get in shape, and this whole thing. And this trek is, you start in a little town. You walk 7 hours the first day up a mountain. The second day you walk 4 hours to the summit of the mountain, and then maybe like 6 to 7 hours down the other side of the mountain that same day, and then you camp there, and then like maybe 3 hours to a town the next day. And so I was totally into it. You know, we're buying the gear. It's a year in advance. Well, the thing about booking a vacation a year in advance is we book it, we pay all of our money. It was way too expensive. We pay all our money, we buy all the gear. Well, like 2 months later, I wasn't even into Everest anymore. I had moved on to a different genre of videos onto YouTube. I was done with it. And then there was this feeling of like, oh, shit, we still got to go on this hike. We got to climb this mountain in 8 months. I'm not even into Everest anymore. So it approaches. We don't do anything we were like, we're going to go on all these hikes to prepare for it. We're going to go on. We didn't do anything. We went and bought the gear at REI and we flew to Peru. Oh, yeah. So we're flying to Peru. First, we fly into Colombia. It's like an all-day trip from New York to Colombia. And then, no. We flew to Colombia and then we flew to Lima in Peru. And then we had like one last 2-hour flight to Cusco in Peru. And we were exhausted and the Lima airport was just humid. And we were thinking, one more 2-hour flight. We have this little bed and breakfast booked. We have a bed. It's going to be great. We're exhausted. And we're sitting in the Lima airport. And we see a bunch of people run to like the window with their phones out. We're like, hey, what's going on? What's going on out there? And a plane crashes right in front of us. Crash landing. Like the landing gear wasn't coming out. So all of a sudden we're like, why are all these people? And we just watch this plane come. And there's like 5 to 10 fire trucks, like as it's landing on the runway, like racing up behind it. So we're like, holy crap. And this plane lands with no landing gear, sparks everywhere. The fire trucks zoom in and just start immediately spraying all the sparks so it doesn't explode. And this plane comes to a screeching, sliding halt with no wheels. And everybody's filming inside the airport and cheering. And the fire department and we're like, holy shit, that is crazy. Well, all of the flights on the screen, and already we're in an airport where we don't speak the language, can't read the language. And all of a sudden, all of the flights go from delayed to canceled. Every single one on the screens is just canceled. And so now we're like, all right, brutal. And so we're trying to email our bed and breakfast that's in a town a 2-hour flight away. We have no service in this airport. Can't email them, can't call them. We're worried, like, are they going to cancel our reservation because we don't get there? We have no idea. And also, we have no idea how we're going to get another flight. And the airport is just a humid shit show where no one is leaving. More people are showing up. There's no flight. So we're just sitting in this humid airport in Lima being like, damn it, this is going to be a brutal process to try to figure this out. And so they keep saying maybe the flights are going to come back and the gates keep changing, so we keep going to different gates and we're sitting in this one, and finally we find this Canadian dude that's in the same spot we are, trying to go to Cusco. And so we're hanging out with him. I gave him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I brought like 10 on the trip. And then finally they were like, people that are going, there was just a few of us, like people that are going on, that were on this flight, come with us. So we go out, they take us outside of the airport. I kind of had a feeling of like, I think they're just going to shoot us. Just, all right, goodbye everybody. So then they bring us, finally, it took hours of just not knowing what is going. They'll make these long announcements in Spanish and you're just like, all right. And so finally, they give us a new flight for the next day at 5:30 in the morning. And So now we're like, okay, I guess we're just going to have to sit in this airport all night. It's a humid, crowded airport filled with people that are mad that their flight got canceled. So we're just sitting there, and morale is getting pretty low, and we got all this gear. And finally, we're like, let's just go up into that restaurant, get some food or something. So we go up into this restaurant, and we're telling this woman that has been in Peru for a while that our situation, we're like, yeah, we got to stay in the airport all night. She goes, no, there's a hotel with like $100 rooms across the street. And so we were like, amazing. So we went to the hotel, and we were like, yeah, we'll take a room. And they're like, okay, it's $400 a night. And I think they just knew that there was no flights leaving, and so they just price gouged us. But we just put her on the credit card. Best thing we probably ever did. Went in, went to sleep, woke up at 4:30, went back to the airport. All the people that had just slept on the floor, it was just as far as you could see, people sleeping on the floor and stuff. So I'm really glad that we just got a room. So anyway, we fly at 5:30 in the morning. We get to Cusco. We get to our hotel. They didn't give up our reservations. We take a nap. Later that day, a guy from the trekking company comes and meets with us and tells us the plan and everything that we're going to do, and that they're going to come get us at 4:30 in the morning the next morning. So we have a little day to chill. At 4:30 in the morning, he comes and picks us up. And I just figured, I don't know why, that the trek would start from that city, which was stupid. And he was like, okay, we're going to have a 2-hour drive a 2-hour drive to where we start the trek. And we were like, okay, great. And I had brought an diarrhea medicine, because if you're on a 5-day hike, getting diarrhea is brutal. So I brought in like all this like headache medication, anti-diarrhea, all this precautionary. But what I didn't bring was anti-car sick medication. And I don't get car sick on planes. I don't get car sick driving around town. But if I'm on windy mountain roads, and this van was also a stick, so he would like shift down and and then shift back up to go around the corner. And it was just, so it's this 2-hour drive, and 20 minutes into it, I had to tell him to stop. I was like, I'm going to puke. And so I rush out of the van, sit there, puke, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? This is a 2-hour trip. I don't have any car sick medication. What am I going to do? It's not going to get any better. So I get back in the van. 10 minutes later, I have to stop again, and I go out and I puke on the side of the road. And then 10 minutes after that, I have to puke again. And by this point, I've like puked on my shoes a little bit, on my pants. It's not good for morale to start a 4-day hike with puke on your clothes. And I just feel awful. I had like hydrated for the whole night to be ready for this first day of hiking. I had eaten a huge breakfast. Now all of that's gone. And finally, after puking probably 6 times, I wrapped a black down coat around my head and eyes so I just couldn't see anything. And I laid down in the van, and just from puking and not having any food or water, I was just totally exhausted. And finally, I just fell asleep. And I remember waking up, my girlfriend like pushing me and waking me up when we finally got there. And that trip was probably the worst trip of my entire life. Those 2 hours of just being totally helpless and more nauseous than I've ever been in my entire life. And so what the plan was is they drove us to this town. We were going to sit in a nice hot springs, like a nice natural hot springs, for a few hours and then start the trek. And so there's a guide and my girlfriend and I, and then there's the people. There was a cook that was along with us with our, I guess, expedition, and a person that drove the horses. We have a few donkey, like half donkey, half horse. Are they called mules? And sorry, got a text. And so there was like a horse driver and our cook, and then the guide that went with us, and my girlfriend and I. And so we had thought that maybe the whole thing, we had thought maybe the whole thing there would be a bunch of other people there when we signed up for the trek. We didn't know other tourists, but it was just the guide, my girlfriend and I, and then, like I said, the horse driver and the cook that cooked our meals. So we pull into this hot springs, and the cook and the horse driver, they start already on the trek. And I am just in sad shape, you guys. I just had puked my little face off, and I was sitting there trying to recover. I can't even, it was like interstellar levels of motion sickness. My hands were numb. I just was sitting there trying to recover. I ate a Snicker bar. I was just trying to, and we sit in this hot springs for an hour or so, and then the guy's like, all right, well, are you guys ready? And so I had planned in my head to overcome. I was like, there's going to be a point when you're really tired and you just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's going to be tough, but you got to just keep going. I'd mentally prepared for moments like that on this trek. But what I didn't prepare for was to start the trek feeling worse than I've ever felt. I thought I would at least feel good at the start. And so we start a 7-hour hiking day, and I just felt awful the whole time. I never really recovered from. But 3 or 4 hours in, we caught up to the lunch and the horse driver, and they set up like a table, and they make this great lunch. And so I ate lunch, felt a little bit better. And then as soon as we're done with lunch, we just start out again. And the horse driver and the cook, they're so fast in the guide. They're so strong and they're so fast at hiking that they take down they wash the dishes, take down the table, take down the little tent they set up for lunch. They take everything down. So right when we were done, left and start hiking again. They take everything down and then leave an hour or so after us. They're so fast that, I don't know, an hour or two in, they pass us again and get way ahead of us. So by the time we're ready for dinner and to stop for the night, they've already have everything packed up. So that's why when it goes to people, Westerners, saying, yeah, I climbed a mountain, it's really that the people from the country that help you. You have to give most of the credit for them. It's because, like, me and my girlfriend climbed this mountain, but horses and these people that live in the country, they carried our stuff, they cooked our meals, they made sure that we were comfortable, you know. And so then we get to the camp where we're supposed to stay. They had set it all up. We get there way late, though, because I had put us way behind because of my whole motion sickness nightmare. And so we get in way late. It's pitch dark. We eat dinner and we go to bed. So the next day is the real summit day, where we summit this 15,900, which is pretty high, where we summit this mountain. So we get up early. We eat, we get ready. I'm feeling 20 times better that day, and we start off. And like I said, I feel great that day. I feel strong, and my girlfriend is starting to struggle, though. She had never really been at high altitude, let alone this really high altitude. I was born and raised in Colorado, so I handled the altitude pretty well. There was a handful of nights where I woke up at 2:30 in the morning, just like... and then really couldn't get my breath and would be up the rest of the night. But as far as while I'm hiking, I handled the altitude pretty well. But my girlfriend started to really struggle to get oxygen as we were hiking up to the summit, and to the point where they were like, do you want to ride a donkey the rest of the way? And she was like, no, I'm all the way here. You don't want, that's kind of you just riding a donkey the rest of the way. It's not very, you gotta, she wanted to do it herself. So she is going slow, and I'm saying, come on, breathing super hard, taking 10 steps, and then needing a rest. And we're like, all right, keep it moving. So I felt great on the way up. So I supported her. So we finally, after maybe 3-4 hours that day, get to the top, take pictures, are feeling good, are super happy with ourselves. The guy was saying, hey, it's just going to be like another hour or so, a couple hours, and then we're lunch, and then a couple hours, and we're done. So it's like, yes, this is great. Well, it kind of started to get hairy. So what was supposed to be like a 15-minute walk from the summit down maybe 40 feet through snow, there's only snow at the summit. So you walk down a 40-foot patch of snow. Well, we start walking, which normally is just you walk over it and you're done. But we would take a few steps and fall into the snow up to here. And the guide was saying, he's like, I've never seen this before. It's usually like we just crunch right through this. And so why that sucks is, so you take a few steps and you fall into here, or your leg falls all the way down. And it kept feeling like I was going to like hurt my knee, or you falling up to here, and then it takes 5 minutes and a ton of energy to dig yourself out. And I could tell the guide was starting to get a little bit nervous too. He kept saying things like, it shouldn't be like this. And our horses that were already ahead of us, that are going to set up lunch, he was saying, I don't know where they are going to go, because the horses can't fall into snow. So you could tell he was getting nervous. And what was supposed to take 15 minutes for this one little part took maybe 2 hours, and was scary. And we were sitting there and we're trying to just get down. We resorted to just sliding on our butts. So you would slide on your butts you slide on your butt for 12 feet, and then try to fall into the snow, dig yourself out, try to slide on your butt. And it just sort of was a nightmare. And finally, he was like, all right, instead of going through this, we're just going to hike way down there and around it. So we maybe hike an hour or two around it. And then he's saying, okay, we're around it. That was crazy. Sorry about that. I've never seen the snow like that. But now, in an hour or two, we'll eat lunch and we'll be good. And so we walked an hour or two to where lunch was supposed to be, and they are not there. And he goes, let's walk down that ridge and up that ridge, and we'll see if we can see them. And so it takes an hour to walk down the ridge. It takes an hour and a half to walk up the ridge, and they're not there. So we're thinking, all right, where did they go? And we're getting tired at this point. It was maybe 3 or 4 hours to the top, and has maybe been 3 or 4 hours since the top, and no lunch. And he's saying, all right, let's walk up to that ridge, and we'll be able to see farther. And where we're at is we're just on this mountain where there's no snow anymore. It's way too high for trees. There's just little shrubs, but it's basically this giant mountain. We haven't seen any other tourists or any other people for 2 days, so there's no one around at all. It's just us. So we're on this mountain with this guide and me and my girlfriend, trying to find our lunch people. And so we walk like up another thing, and by this point my girlfriend and I are just we're borderlining on true exhaustion and are kind of waddling like we're drunk. And the guide can see that he's about walked us to the limit. And so what he says, okay, you guys just sit here. I'm going to leave my pack with you guys, and then so I can move a lot faster. And I'm going to walk to, and he points to this farmhouse that looks like it's 150 miles away. He goes, I'm going to walk up there and ask the people that live there if they saw our horses walk by. And so we're like, okay. And then he leaves. And all of a sudden, seeing this guide disappear into the endless mountains of Peru, it was the first moment where I was a little bit nervous, because it's like, if this guy falls and breaks a leg, or doesn't come back, we are on our own. There is nothing up there. So we're thinking, all right, so we got like a Cliff Bar and a Snickers. We got some food. We got some water. We'll just start walking down, I guess. And so we're sitting there for what seems to be a really long time, hoping like, please let this dude just come back. Finally, he comes back and he goes, all right, I found them. He's just dripping in sweat. It's probably one of the worst days of his work life, but he's just dripping in sweat. And he goes, okay, the good news is I found them. Huge sense of relief. The bad news is it's like 4 hours away. And we'd already been hiking 6 hours. So we hike 4 more hours to lunch. I have a blister at this point. Morale is really low. I was like, how do you not have walkie-talkies to just be like, yo, where are you guys at? So then we eat lunch and we have 5 more hours after lunch. And it's like, who wants to walk? A few times in the trek, I would be like, how long until we're done for the day? And the answer was more than 8 hours. And I was like, why did I think that I would enjoy this? Who would want to hike that long? But it actually was a really fun experience. But so we hike, we finally get... But as good as I was on the way up the mountain, I was terrible. I had no idea on the way down. It's maybe because we had hiked for so long, but on the way down, so like that 5 hours after lunch, I had broken one of my ankles. And I guess after like 8 hours of hiking or whatever it was, it started to get really just unstable. So anytime I would like step on anything that wasn't flat, it would just have a chance to roll. So I was good on the way up, and my girlfriend was, struggling. So I was kind of supporting her on the way up, and then the way down, she was crushing it. Just the way she was built, she just was trucking on the way down, and I was going slow and was really mad, and morale was really slow for me on the way down. So she was the one on the way down, like, all right, let's just keep going. This sucks, but let's just keep going, and we made it. And just that, which is, this trek is considered not easy, but like moderate or moderate hard. And so just that showed me I would have no business even going from like camp 1 to camp 2 in Everest is just insane. And also too, if you want to have, that's kind of what I was saying in my Everest video, is if you want to have an experience where you go hiking a mountain until you can't walk anymore, you can do it. You don't have to do Everest, the one that is probably going to just kill you. So we made it to the camp that night, and then the next day was just maybe a 3-hour walk on a dirt road, so it was very easy. But that's my climb a mountain story. Pretty good trip, actually. I don't know if we'll ever go on another one, but it was fun. It was definitely fun once we got done. I found out a lot about myself, like I like a couple-hour hike and not a 9-hour hike. All right, I'm going to cut it off there. This one's long. I love you all. I hope you have a good start to the week. Why, Steven? Why, Steven? Steven, why? Shamita.